Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. In this video, myself and Jim Moore are going to debate whether or not it would be best if Splinterlands moved away from telling us exactly how many expansion packs were available for a new series of cards, and instead they simply said this series of cards is available for 9 months, after which never again. And that would mean whether you sold a million of Rebellion or 50 million Rebellion, the window of availability would just remain the same. And I see a lot of interesting detriments that this would represent, but I also see some ways that this could be a betterment to our economy. And here's the thing, it might sound radical and unlikely, but we've already started talking about burning Chaos Legion packs. We're talking about changing the price scheme for Rift Watchers. I feel like nothing is off the table, and let's consider all possibilities to rework the economy for the better. And I think this is part of that conversation. So I hope you'll stick around and stay tuned, guys. Have an amazing day. God bless. Why don't they release a set and not show packs available? Just how many sell? Oh yeah, I think I saw you drop a comment on that one, or somebody dropped a comment on that, and I kind of. So let me think that through. Why don't they release a set and not show packs available? Just how many sell? And at the end of 6 months, take the packs off the store. No pack burning. Just print the demand. How would you do How would you do airdrops?
You make it time based. So I actually had a discussion about this last night.
Okay.
So I threw up the idea of they've talked about 9 months on, 3 months off, right?
Yeah.
So you make it to where it's not capped on a certain amount of packs. Then you make it to where it's time-based. So every 3 months, there's going to be a new airdrop card. And then as long as you have the X amount of packs needed, that's how you can do the guarantee along with the percentage-based, right? So then that way it kind of takes... you don't have to guess how many total cards to have for the set. It then makes it to where, all right, well, if we're in a lull of player base, then we can go ahead and the demand from the players will actually dictate how many packs are going out into the market total. So after the 9 months time frame, then you have no more packs being made, but it's at that point it was all dependent upon how much people wanted the packs.
Yeah.
So if it made it to where it was like 10 million in 9 months, or 9,754,000 of these packs, like whatever the number is.
Yeah.
Then that's just how many packs were there. You don't have to pay attention to a cap.
So but then how would we calculate? So I don't know enough about this maybe, but the way that the cards are issued, as I understand it, is we know that there are X million common edition and so many hundreds thousands of rares and X number of epics and X number of legendaries of each applicable card. And we know that because we know how many units of pack are available at release. And would we just not know at the end? Would we would have to assign a certain percentage drop rate toward every card, every common, every rare, every epic, every legendary, and then there would just be essentially a fair and randomized distribution of those assets with every pack that's sold, but we wouldn't necessarily know how many we were going to end up with.
Yeah, exactly. And as of right now, the only way we kind of know exactly how many is because we know the total pack number, but that's just going off of if everything's perfect, right? That's not going to be the exact number of printings because it's going to fluctuate.
That's interesting to me. I kind of like it, but I imagine pushback from a community of investors, and this is my first reaction. Don't investors want to know how rare a thing is before they start? How limited isn't that part of the value proposition of these assets, that we know there's only 21 million Bitcoin, we know that there's only 15 million Chaos Legion packs and so on? Like, isn't that part of the initial attraction? Or am I
would say yes and no, because having that knowledge is good, But if we're at kind of the place that we're at right now, of if they don't start to do the burning process of these packs, like this investment process could go on for 2 years without you seeing any form of increase.
Yeah.
So as an investor, you're more likely to be investing in something, especially once you know a certain time frame of it is going to then increase your asset. So for me, I would much prefer to know that, all right, if stuff is going to be cut off at the 9-month mark, right? Let's say they made a 15 million pack over the course of 9 months, right? But if it doesn't sell after 9 months, boom, it's instantly burned. Okay? Like, there's not much of a difference with that than not having a cap to me. Because if you don't meet that number anyway, then it didn't matter. Because at that point, you didn't know how many packs were going to be out there anyway.
Yeah. What about... Yeah, I see the value in that. I guess I prefer... So on the one hand, I prefer that there be really clear outlines to how many packs we would have of each kind and quality, and therefore how many cards we would have of each rarity and gold foil and regular foil, etc. Knowing exactly before it ever launches, and that way, like Bobby just threw in there, to know the rarity, to understand the numbers, and not to. I would almost question like funny business, like not from like I trust the team, but isn't there like just more room for messing around? Like we don't necessarily know how many of these legendaries, or like I real quick,
yeah, just because I want to clarify. So he's saying how you can't just tell if something is rare, like you need to know the number. If it's so, are we talking like rare cards, or are we talking about the scarcity of the pack?
I think it's both, right? Because the scarcity of the pack, well, the limited nature of the pack quantity speaks to the limited nature of the card quantity.
Okay, so for the card, like having that set up to where it's all right, there's a guaranteed one rare, but then you also have the increased chances in every pack to get more rares, and then from that lot of numbers, or from that rare, you then divide how many total rare cards are. So like that's still there.
Yeah, you can still do the math, but I would argue that that's like a different, analysis. I would almost, it seems to me that if I guess the goal there is that we don't want these packs just sitting, and that makes sense. But then that makes me almost want to say like, well, why don't we just what if we did mini sets? Like what if instead of, 15 million was a big leap forward from 1.5 million. What if it was just like 1.5 million every time? And maybe they would sell out on day one. And if they do, they do. I don't know. No, that's not really good either, because
that's how you, if you don't make it a cap, that's how you fix the thing of market demand. Because all right, well, let's say let's say that they made it 1.5 million every single main set over the course of 9 months, but it sells out day one.
Yep.
Or the thing of 15 million doesn't sell out in the 9 months at all. Or it could sell out in 3 days, and then the company as a whole is now being, if the market is demanding it in terms of the overall packs that are needed, I just see it being better that way, because then you don't have to play around with these numbers.
Yeah, that makes some sense to me. I'm not sure. Like I like the ultimate. I like the answer to the problem of finding the right number of packs, because you're right. There is one problem that is plaguing our pack releases now, and that is how many is the right number. And if you put too many, it's a problem. If you put too little, it's a problem. And if you did this option of not even really deciding, but just letting the market sales decide, but I would argue that would have a different set of problems, and I'm trying to articulate that. One of the problems is that you don't necessarily know the rarity of the assets when you're buying them at the initial release, and the second is that the implications of early purchasers. The implication of that on early purchasers, like if you're buying $100,000, $200,000 worth of these packs at release because you're excited about them, you do have to reconcile for yourself whether you care that this might be a really prolific pack issuance. Like there might be millions and millions and millions, making the investment you're making less rare. Or you might find that the packs you purchased, many of, are exceedingly rare, and you don't. That's a gamble. That's a coin toss that I'm not sure really big pockets, really deep pockets are going to want to have. And maybe that's okay. Maybe you would counter and say, well, are we appealing to big money or are we appealing to small investors? Because I do think this proposal that you're raising would benefit kind of smaller money in a bigger way, because you're not really caring when you buy 100 packs or even 50 or 10 packs. You're not thinking to yourself the long-term ramifications of pack appreciation. But when you buy 100,000 packs, you definitely are. And so I do think this idea has some interesting benefit. I also see some unique challenges to a certain audience, and maybe that's okay. I don't know how to weigh those comparatively.
And I also, so like kind of going off of for the investor, right? Like there's no investor that is able to buy every single pack. Well, as of right now, right? And if it ever, and I don't even think that like it could ever even get to that point.
True.
It's just that I'm like trying to think of it's also good for the gameplay aspect of it as well, because so like if the number is just low enough in terms of how many total packs, people will go out and say buy them all, right? Then that makes it for extremely rough for people to then be able to get into the game, because now secondary market is completely taken over by X amount of investors. I don't see that as being so. Dom just bring up so like knowing how much is printed is a nice, or the total amount of printed, but it also doesn't change things in terms of the earlier you get in, right? Since it would be a time-based reward system for the airdrop, the earlier you get in, the better. In terms of you have a month to do it.
Yep.
Which is also important.
Yeah, the airdrop would essentially be your primary driver for early sales, like maximizing airdrops, promo cards, and whatnot. But
I just can't see it really being a bad thing of just people being like, it's good to know these numbers. Well, it's like kind of, because TCGs already don't tell you what these numbers are in physical, and like they're doing amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need to know what these exact numbers are.
Yeah, I don't think you need to know. I do think we're already kind of going a slippery slope. Well, maybe that's a bad way of I'm kind of leading the witness with that comment. I would argue what we've been doing over the last few weeks with some of these proposals, like the idea of proposing that we burn some Chaos Legion packs, the idea that we're proposing that we would start liquidating Rift Watcher packs. I think the idea is that we're acknowledging that we probably put out too many, and then we're also saying we'd be willing to like change how many are out. And then the 9-month proposal, the idea of having a main pack issue for 9 months and then 3 months no. All of that to me seems like we're getting to a place where we're going to find something like this. but I don't necessarily know that I think I actually it would be the best solution is none of these solutions in my opinion. The best solution is to know the audience and to know the appetite well enough that you actually you create a good amount of supply that leaves them wanting. That's what like Nintendo has done. That's what PlayStation has done. That's what like you issue so many units of the product, and then at the end of the Christmas season, there are kids who can't get it because mom and dad can't find it in the stores. That's actually a good thing for conversation, for desire.
Wait a minute.
But
just got me thinking.
But the question is, how do we nail that? And I don't really know that we can nail that every time. And I think, therefore, knowing reality and recognize, like I have a desire for one set of circumstances, which would be optimal, but then I would argue that's not necessarily possible to attain each time. So I kind of like the idea of, well, at 9 months, or at 6 months, we're going to start doing the 25,000 pack burn or whatever. Forget about 25,000 is a number they threw out for the Chaos Legion thing. Forget about that. Like 1% burn, or like give me a percentage number, like burn of whatever's remaining. And then this is like the way it always works. So if we overshoot, and that would be in some sense like a middle ground of these ideas, because you're telling me we have, let's say 15 million Rebellion packs. I don't know how many they're going to do, but let's just imagine that that's a number they pick. Well, yeah. Then that's theoretically available. I know that when I'm buying on day one, but I also know if at 6 months there's still 5 million packs left, they're going to start doing this like systematic and pre-planned and percentage-based burn on a daily basis. Whether 1% is not the right number, but you know what I mean? Like, whatever number 25,000 amounts to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then if it's 7 million packs are left over, that burn would be more dramatic. If it's 10 million, it'd be still more dramatic. If it's 1 million, it'd be less dramatic. But it would be almost a predictable formula, or it wouldn't be 100% predictable because you don't know how well the packs are going to sell. But I think that's maybe the best middle ground. And I don't, frankly, I don't love it, but I also don't know any better way to do it.
When you were talking about like the game consoles, like how many that they're putting out, it gave me the idea of what if the 9 months thing had a soft cap, or I guess you could call it a hard cap at that point, every single month. So whatever, let's say they made 9 million packs, right, of the next set. And you take whatever the total number is, so the 9 million divided by the 9 months, so that way you're now in this scenario only selling 1 million packs every single month.
And then what would happen? You're only, if you did or didn't sell the full million, what would happen?
So if I guess at that point it could either be burned or it could roll over into the next month. But why I'm kind of saying it is then so then that way you would know exactly how many of the first airdrop will be going out, because it is then percentage based of only 1 million rather than it being, okay, this if 2 million packs sold, this first airdrop is going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
And then all the other ones moving forward to where it could just be, all right, we want to have, say, 100 or 1,000. We'll say 1,000.
Yeah.
So you need 1,000 packs in order to get this first airdrop. Or 2,000, make it 500, whatever the number is, right? And then that way it kind of rushes people into getting packs. And then you have kind of that scarcity marker as well that they want to achieve with the 9 months on, 3 months off. Because, well, now it's, rather than it just being 3 months off, it could be a week off or 3 weeks off in that month time frame until those next packs are then created.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have to make it. But then does that mess things up with meta and releasing cards?
I think it probably has implications for sure.
Yeah. There's like so many ways you can do it, or like even talk about it. I like the no cap. I'm fine if they do have a cap. You know, that the percentage burn thing, like you were talking about. Once it hits a certain mark, if it's 7 million, then you're burning 70 a day, 70K a day, or 50K a day. I like that percentage based one as well.
I saw a comment from Dom saying, like, kind of a proposal of the idea. Every day, divide the number of packs by the number of days left for the set, and burn that each day. Yeah, like a numerical, trackable, you know, consistent plan, like, makes the most sense in my opinion. Dude, can I pull this off? Are we gonna get the? Yeah, I think we got this one. I got enough heat in here. But I guess I would just say we are already. I like it if we can find the right number of packs, but that's just too much to ask, I think. And so we already are rethinking this plan, and maybe, you know, so it does pay to kind of kick around these ideas, because we're already rethinking these ideas even now. We just aren't necessarily acknowledging that yet. And so, yeah, makes sense to me. I'd love to, let's see. I didn't see a ton of action on the Rooney site, and I definitely want to spend some time talking about the comments from that video where that I mentioned earlier, where I was talking about. We got this one right. Oh yeah, big time.
Oh yeah, you easily got it.
This is the best immunity monster in my opinion.
He's stupidly good.
Yeah. The Forgotten One is good, real good.